Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good ever what time of day it happens to be that you are listening to the Tattooed Teacher podcast. On today's episode, I have the amazing Larissa Warren. Now, Larissa, I first came into contact with probably about 8 years ago at a small gallery opening where she displayed some of her work. I actually have a small piece up in one of my cupboards, a nice little white Scotch glass with the marbled clay through it. It's one of my prized possessions now. So, Larissa, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Which gallery was it, Phil? Do you remember?
It was down at, I think it was down at Southport, behind, I think, the Brickworks.
Oh, so that I curated that show, and it was all art teachers.
Yes.
And it was the last week we'd all broke up from school. And at that time, I was banking with the Queensland Teachers Credit Union, who's now RSEQ. We're still banking with them. But I hit them up for sponsorship. And so that was a big booze party because we spent all that money. They sponsored it. And so it was a really good way to finish the year.
Absolutely. It was a great night. I was actually invited by Rachel Duran
Yeah.
to come along because we worked together at that time. We were working together at the time down at King's. So
Mm.
yeah, it was fantastic to be a part of it.
So Rachel and I we went to uni together, and then we were flatmates before we both got married. So,
Got a
but
long history together.
yeah, that could fill a podcast. Yeah.
Maybe it shouldn't. Two artists at uni living there. My goodness, there would be some stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
So the way we came into contact was like you were saying, your gallery, the exhibition was art teachers putting on their pieces, displaying their pieces. So you were in education, are
Mm-hmm.
in education, but you're not so much in the classroom at all anymore. But what is your why behind education? So what was your first drive to actually teach visual arts?
Free supplies, Phil. Um, I had a great art teacher who I actually ran into. Shout out to Ros Hardy. I went to a manual back in the days when it was demountables and canoes on the flooded oval.
Yep.
And there was a dark room because my first area was photography. I was a darkroom photographer. And she organised I think it was like the TA, new photography. And, excuse me. So I did photography there. And then there's no way I would have got into uni in any other capacity, but I got in through my portfolio and a series of interviews and whatnot. Went to Queensland College of Art and did my 3 years there. But I think it was like in the last year of that undergraduate degree that I went back and saw Roz, and she said, look, I've got a group of seniors. I don't have anyone to teach them the photography. If you teach them photography, I can kind of trade you with some materials. And I misinterpreted that with, what a rad job you have. And also, I think I was really young. I had just turned 17 when I first started university.
My
So
goodness.
I was graduating very young after that first 3 years. And so I then did the Bachelor of Education graduate entry. Back then it was 2 years, and I did that at Mount Gravatt. So no, it was that experience. I really enjoyed teaching those students. And I don't know, the art department was always a refuge for me. So it had a different vibe. But I think I was pretty much voted least likely to ever be a teacher. I think
I'm on
that's
that
in the
one
year.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's how I got into teaching.
It's amazing that, I mean, with so many people I speak to, and there's another friend of mine and colleague who runs his own podcast as well, and constantly references, I think, his fourth grade teacher. Um, and it's one of those things that there's always a teacher who has impacted us. I think every person out there impacted us. I know for me there was a couple of positives, but least likely to be a teacher, number one hat here. But there are also a lot of teachers that impacted negatively. But it sounds like for you, you're in such a great environment. And it gave you permission to flourish in your passion.
Yeah. My fourth grade teacher, I adored, British lady, and I followed her around and I loved her. And recently, my parents gave me all my old report cards. And, like the memory I had of this lady, I just cherished her. I thought she was, just wonderful. And I read the report card from her and it said, Lara, which is what they used to call me, is very annoying and lazy. So that memory of my fourth year teacher, who I held very dearly, changed. Yeah.
Changed dramatically.
I
Oh
know.
my
Can
goodness.
you imagine? That was the handwritten report card. I just can't even, she didn't even try to use, special tactic language that we
Yeah, that
should
we
just,
have to use that we have to use now. I mean,
she just
there'd
went
be
in
some
straight for it, went in for the kill.
straight to the
I do
jugular.
remember I followed her around on playground duties, so obviously I must have just been a little bit too much, but yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, look, I'm sure there's students that we'd all love to have written that on their report cards, but however, in today we have to be a little bit more
Oh,
diplomatic.
I don't care who the kid. I couldn't tell someone they're annoying. That's shocking, actually. Anyway, yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. So from the classroom, so from a passion in photography and trading materials, you continued on to your career, but you're now out of the classroom. You're a full-time practicing artist. So
I
how
am.
did you transition out, or what was the journey from the classroom to
Yeah, yeah.
no longer the classroom?
I like the word transition. Uh, so I did two major pracs, and one was at Southport High, which was funny because I just went back there a week and a half ago. I did that prac in 1999. And so going back last week was just bizarre because it didn't look like the same, but all the teachers were so young and vibrant. It was, yeah, it was weird. But I had a great mentor at Southport High and still friends with her. Um, I even, she's just retired and I even did like a long service leave for her. We're actually catching up this Thursday because she's going to give me some advice for an education resource that I've got to write. But yeah, great experience there. And then I also had a great experience at Woodridge High with another mentor. I got offered, so it was interesting because the reason, a lot of times, you know how the graduate degrees, 1 year it's 1 year, 1 year it's a master's, suddenly they've taken it to 2 years. There was an influx of teachers when I was going through, and that, and it turned into this 2 year graduate, or 4 year undergraduate. Um, so I actually got extensive prac time over 2 years. But there was a lot of us teachers. And the funny thing is that when I went to uni, everyone kind of didn't want to work with us, QCA art students that came over because they thought we weren't going to be academic. And you know how much group work you've got to do.
Yep.
We thrashed it. We were the top grade students. And I think because coming from an art school where the criteria was sometimes subjective, perhaps, yeah, I just found education so easy because it's like, oh, so you're just telling me I just repeat this, or, I just go to those books and, I just learn the education philosophies anyway. So we all got S1 ratings. I don't know what you call it now, but we all got top ratings. But it was basically very difficult to get a permanent position. We all got jobs in the Logan area. Or you had to go out bush. So yeah, I got permanent position at Woodridge High. I was made like head of art department within a year there. Um, it was definitely a learning curve. There's some great moments from there, great staff. But after 2 years, I've got a British passport. I was really hankering to travel. So, and I'd already done some teaching in between that holiday break. And that was back then you could go to England and do supply days and you'd get £100 a day. And it was about 3 times as much. So it was $300 a day. It was unspeakable how much that was, so much money. So, yeah, so after 2 years, I took a 3-year break, which you can with Ed Queensland, and I went overseas. I went to England, started some work in the Midlands, and then I actually got a permanent job teaching sixth form college down in Suffolk, which I just loved. I think it was a dream job.
Yeah.
And I had an amazing student. So sixth form is like year 12 and year 13. So
Yep.
they're 18, 19-year-olds. I mean, we took these kids to Amsterdam for a week and Barcelona. Like you do some,
Amazing
you
job.
really extended kind of learning. We're only an hour out of London. So, yeah, and I just taught photography as well. I think I might have taught some art GCSE. So I did 2 and a bit years there. And when I came back, that Woodridge job was still waiting for me. But I'd gotten a contract at Kelvin Grove, which was like a really amazing excellence art program. And they wanted to keep me on, but I had to go back to that Woodridge position. And I have to say, I didn't want, after working at such an excelling level, I wasn't ready to go back
Yep.
and juggle a $6,000 budget and just have paper and pencils. I mean, when I was at Woodridge, the stuff I was doing, like getting free donations of tiles and breaking them up for mosaics, and it was a struggle financially there, but also a lot of things. It was quite a stressful job. It was challenging. And so I actually went private after that. So, yeah, I interviewed at a couple of private schools. I also wanted to move back down to the Gold Coast. So, yeah, then I started a position at Coombe Anglican College.
Yep.
And,
Just around the corner from me.
there you go. Yep. So, and yeah, I think I stayed there for almost 16 years and very, very good to me because I think I would have been the only, when I had the kids, I was able to stay part-time or will go to part-time when at that time, I don't think many private schools were offering. I think I might have been one or the only 2 people in the whole campus that were part-time.
Okay.
So very fortunate to be able to do that. And through working with a lot of artists and residencies, clay's always been around. It's in the family. My grandmother worked at a potter's cottage through the 50s, 60s, 70s. Anyway, but I did start working with ceramics a lot more and particularly with the students. And I just saw particularly how much I can engage the boys sculpturally. There's a spatial awareness that's, I don't know, I was just able to really grab the students in a different way. And I think that is actually what influenced myself as well. So I did have a darkroom at home and I was doing that kind of stuff and a little bit of exhibition work, but I'd say there was a few things that turned so that I was actually able to get a little bit more time. But yeah, I would say I started probably working as a ceramic artist and exhibiting and making money from it in 2016.
Okay.
I left teaching in 2018.
Right. Well, that's a pretty quick. I guess it's a quick transition from when you started to generate some income from it to actually having enough
Oh,
to have the
yeah,
opportunity to.
2019, sorry. Yeah, 3 years, 3 and a bit years.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
And that's I mean that's a testament to your work, your name, but also your experience, because so many people would go, well, you started exhibiting in 2016 and then you're out in, as a full-time artist in 2019. But what a lot of people don't understand is for artists, designers, creators, it's everything from way back over here. where you started
Mm.
honing your craft, you started learning how to do things, you started learning who you were as an artist, and you actually stayed the path rather than just going, okay, well, this is getting too hard, I'm giving up, and I'm just going to teach and not actually practice.
Staying the path was working every night,
Yeah,
and every weekend and whenever I could, plus the teaching load. I did have a plan. Like, I'll be really honest. There were some things that had happened that made me realize that the security of being in the classroom that we all cling on to, and I've seen this with teachers, there's all the superannuation and the sick leave and the holidays. I couldn't give up the holidays. I have not missed the holidays. I don't need them. Like, I do miss getting paid to be on holidays, like, but
yeah.
you just don't crave them. Like, sometimes a kid said to me today, I said, "What week is it?" I didn't even, I haven't thought about, how you always just know what week is. And my daughter goes, "Week 5." And I went, "Oh," I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot from teachers who have moved out of the classroom to whether it's private industry or a different, just a completely different career shift, or doing something for themselves, where it's just like, yeah, I thought I would miss this aspect of it, where having my holidays and having this and but it's like I actually don't need it because I don't have the stress, I don't have the, and for some teachers they don't have the trauma of actually going into a
Mhm.
classroom because we know, and I mean being in some of the unfortunately in some of the lower socioeconomic areas, there's a lot of trauma that you
Oh, and I
you
can
see,
totally
you see.
understand it, because I think for the first 6 months after I left teaching, I don't know why, but I was working in the studio without podcasts and without music. And my husband would come home and go, "Aren't you going stir crazy?" And I was thinking through past things, where you just, oh, okay, I could have done that differently. And I don't know, I was running through everything from my teaching years because I almost needed to let it go.
Yeah,
It took a while. I still sometimes have that horrid dream. I'm sure I don't want to bring it up for everyone, where you are in between classes and you don't have your timetable and you know you're supposed to be somewhere, and you're just petrified you're going to get late to that class. I don't know. I was always petrified I was going to get late to the class and get in trouble or something. It's this dream I have where I've had to run off to the toilet or something, that teeny break you get, and this class is lined up for me. And when I get there, there's a furious somebody looking at me. And I don't know, it's a dream. I still
no,
get it occasionally. So
no,
it's,
absolutely, I get it.
so I am my own boss, and it's amazing. I don't probably make as much. One of the reasons why I didn't leave straight away and I kept the part-time was it was my accountant. She kept saying, "Oh, this is brilliant. You've got the best of both worlds. Your art doesn't have to fund your mortgage and your lifestyle." But I realized she was not the person I should be. Why was I taking career advice from my accountant? She wanted my accountant obviously wants us to be secure and happy and all those things, but she was not good to listen to for advice on my artistic endeavors, because what I was listening and hearing from her is, "You're safe." And
Yeah,
therefore, and everyone knows, if you're really going to challenge yourself artistically, you have to. I think of my work and my art constantly. Like, I have to stop myself sometimes when someone's talking to me. I have to go, "Okay, now you have to listen. You have to
yep.
repeat what they're saying, nod," because it is all encompassing. And um, yeah, so I just couldn't. When you're teaching, that is the priority. You are always thinking about your classes and your students, and you want the best for them. And so I couldn't give my art the all. Um, yeah, so I
and
think,
and and it's
yeah,
and it's sometimes like, yeah, like you said, you were comfortable and you were safe, but that whenever growth and that move forward is always from a area of uncomfortability, and
mm.
that,
But
I mean, I
can
know
I
for me,
interrupt and
yeah,
say,
absolutely.
are we safe? Because that was the other thing, is there was a couple of situations where I realized, "Phew, I'm not safe." And I won't go into details, obviously, because I understand now, in reflection on situations, but there's been a few times where I've had a very irate parent go for me. And I mean go for me, as in, sending the complaints into everybody, even though the school had dealt with the situation or whatnot. And whether the school had my back at that time or not, these situations make you realize I I need better control, and I know some people might go, well, I've got union representation and I document everything, but teaching is, I don't know, I feel like it's a bit of a different world than it was back in year 2000 when I stepped into the first classroom. I felt safer in that first position in Woodridge with the tables getting thrown at me. I just felt like, as in, I felt safer in my job
Yeah,
and the security, sorry, I should say
yeah,
that.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, look, it definitely has. Like, I started teaching around the same time as you. I started my
Mm,
first job was in 2002, um, when I was living back in New South Wales. And yeah, there's definitely been a shift in the burden that's placed on teachers, but also, like you said, um, the risk involved. And I mean, I tend not to think of it. It's just I'm just doing it, and I'm doing it.
mm,
But when you made that statement, is it safe? You, I guess you ponder and you go, well, certain parts of it are. Like, I get a paycheck every week,
yeah.
but I could I could go into school tomorrow and there could be a complaint against me,
Mm.
and that could just turn my whole world into absolute chaos.
And the thing is, the complaint was was quite small. It was actually almost laughable, but it shook me. And then it changed my ability to have confidence in myself. And I think that's what it was all about too, is sometimes when you have, and the, the parent that makes the loudest noise is not necessarily right, but if they're shaking up and making a lot of noise, they do get admin's attention. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, I won't go into those details, but I'm sure any teacher that's been teaching for more than a few years has been in a situation where they go, "Oh, I don't, I don't feel like, I don't know, I don't feel completely secure in this." Where I know, look, next month I don't know where the money's coming from, but I keep seeming to do this and I keep, like there are some things on the calendar, but it just seems to happen. And I mean, even my husband's an electrician, and like it made us even realize he's a sole trader as well. And it made us realize, whoa, like this is, like, I don't think there's any security. You just have to do the best. You have to tell the truth. You have to do your best job. You have to, you know, but yeah, I just feel like, yeah, I think maybe since we've both left employment like that, I just look at things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
and
gone off on a tangent.
that's the great thing about it. Is that our life journey is, and our perspective, as long as we're growing, our perspective is always changing, and our experiences will shape where we're headed, and they'll help guide some decisions more than others, and they'll help
Mm.
us to look at things maybe a little bit more deeply before taking the plunge. So with that, so you're out of school, you're a full-time artist, but you're also still working within schools.
Yeah, because I love teaching. I just don't know if, yeah, I think I'm going back to that thing in high school where I was least likely seen as a teacher. You know what I mean? Like yeah, I really like the fun stuff.
Yeah,
And I get to do that fun stuff now. So, yeah,
without all the paperwork, and that's getting heavier and heavier.
yeah. Um, but I also think, like when I occasionally do go and do supply, and I love it. And it's funny because all the teachers are like, "Oh, look at you smiling! You got so much energy," and it's because you're going in there for one day and you get all the nice bits. Um, yeah. So no. So what I do now. So in 2019, I went to a really inspirational. I went to the Australian Ceramics Triennale in Hobart, and there was different panels, and there was a panel talk with these mid-career female artists, and that shook me. So I'd come up to the mountain. We'd moved up in 2018. At the time when I resigned from CAC, I thought it was because we wanted to move up here. Oh, it's time for a change, da da da. And we wanted the kids to be up at the schools up here. So I thought one of us has to be working up here. I don't think now when I look back on it, I just wanted to change and we were relocating. I think I was ready to leave teaching then, but I started up at the high school up here. And then I'd already booked in this Triennale in Hobart. And I listened to this talk and these women about how much they had set aside time for their art, and that there was an understanding, whether they had children or other things, their art was part of that relationship. And I don't know, there was just something that resonated with me. And when I got back off the plane, my husband looked at me and he goes, "Oh, you're going to quit, aren't you?" Like he knew. I just had this face that just lit up, like a
Yeah,
kid looking at the lights in New York at Christmas time. Like I was just like, yeah, I had a moment.
yeah. When you
Um,
know, you know.
and he says to me, "You wake up like that every morning." Like I'm bursting to go and get back into the studio and work. And then a couple of times I've done, 6 to 8 week contracts. And by about the fourth week, he's like, "Oh, the lights left your face."
Wow.
So I think, but that's also routine. I think that does it to me because I don't have to follow a routine like that anymore. So I don't, and it's never really the students. Like I can deal with bad behavior most of the time. Like, I've kind of got a good sense of humor, so I can let that go. But I think it's just the routine and not being in that studio. The studio just revitalizes me. So yeah, but you're asking about how I'm doing education now. So I do workshops. Well, I kind of found when I was still teaching, we were putting on. Rachel was involved. A lot of us art teachers were putting on like free PD for the other art teachers, one afternoon a week or one afternoon a fortnight. And I did a ceramics one, and I had so many of the teachers going, "Oh, can you come and do a workshop on one of your days off at our schools?" So I started doing a bit of that. And I really loved that. And then I realized that in Queensland, there's only probably a couple, maybe far up north, a little bit of ceramics tuition at Uni SQ and Toowoomba, but there's no art teachers that are graduating now with ceramics specialist knowledge. I mean, operating kilns and knowing which clays to work with, firing, drying works, all that problem solving. So these new grads, almost for the last 15 years, don't have that knowledge. And so I kind of found a gap in the market and realized I could be doing my artwork, and then also to supplement it, I could be doing these workshops or professional practice PD for teachers. And then that just opened up. So I started doing these, called them art and clay, and I would do PDs because also the other thing is we were going to all these PDs and they were rubbish. You'd be in some factory in Marie or something and they'd give you a Subway, and there was the Nescafe coffee, and this would be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'd be racing there, and I just started thinking about what makes a good PD. And so I found the best of the best, and paid them well too. And I would make these like expos kind of where teachers would come and get to do lots of workshops with great artists. I had got sponsorships, so they'd have freebie bags. We had the coffee machine. We had the coffee truck there waiting. I'd do catering, make it a Friday. That's the formula. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I started doing things like that as well and realized that I was good at it. And people were really nourished. Like these art teachers would be emailing me afterwards going, that was amazing. I'm now doing this with the class. And it just kind of trickled on. And also that way I was able to employ ceramic artists that I adored and wanted to get to know. Yeah, so it kind of took from there. And now I don't even probably do that much. More my education side of it is within my work. Yeah. Sorry. It's
No,
very, it
I,
keeps
I, I
changing.
yeah, no, I love it. And I love hearing the journey, and I love the fact that nothing is sort of there's nothing set in stone, and you're willing to roll with things and make the decision. And but and sometimes it seems like it's a bit of a tough decision, but you make it well. But as you discuss it, you're talking about running PDs. Like there's nothing worse than working all day or all week and then going to a PD and just going, this is just an absolute waste of my time. I'm not doing
Or
anything. I'm not
this
learning
is
anything.
dry. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I mean, I'm a design industrial teacher. I've taught visual arts a number of times. I have a very messy studio here, which I'd love to get into more, but I often don't have the time. But it's one of those things where when I go to a PD, I actually want to learn something. I want to
Mm.
feel something. I want to make something, and I want to come back with something that I didn't have before. Whether that's a new thought process, a new skill, a new option of doing something. Whereas so many are just here's just the repetitious do
And what
this
you
and
said
do this.
then is you wanted to feel something. So I have to tell you, one of, and she's remained a great friend of mine, Ronnie Kay. So what I would often do is I'd have a feature artist talk, and then I would also have workshops in the mornings and afternoons. So it's kind of like, you get to pick your electives. So Ronnie Kay came down from Budrum, and we'd set it up at the Gold Coast Potters at Benoa, which is a lovely area, and maybe about 20 teachers. And she did her talk, and everyone was almost in tears. Like her work has such a long life story. There's pain, there's love, there's sacrifice in her work. And a lot of it all her visuals come from still life drawing, this one class that she'll do, and then it will, roll into whether it's ceramics or painting. And she just had everyone just, at the end, they were just looking, teary eyed, and made a connection with her. And then she said, oh, now I hope this is okay. And she rustled around in this little portfolio and brought out all these amazing drawings and sketches and collages, not something that she'd knocked up in 5 minutes, like something, well, I've actually got a framed one right here next to me. And she said, I hope this is okay. I brought a drawing for everybody. Every one of those teachers, they crawled. They ran, like, you know what I mean? They tumbling over each other, the table, and I had to go, get back, everyone.
Yeah,
I'm going to do like a lottery, like I put a name in the hat. I've never seen these art teachers because they felt something. And I knew that I was onto something then, like, because you don't get those moments when you're a teacher. Everything is about your students and making them feel. And I just made that room. Well, I didn't make that room do anything. Ronnie did. She was just magical, but I got to be there as well. Like it was
yeah,
so good. So those moments are so good. Yeah.
yeah. It gives me the tingles, but just hearing about that because I mean I love art. I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be able to have been to some amazing galleries around the world. The Met in New York, the Peggy
Mm.
Guggenheim in Venice, um, a few unknown ones in Florence, the Sistine Chapel, Vatican City. Just walking through, I was where I worked in Sydney, I was straight down to the New South Wales Gallery, and I've been to Canberra and Melbourne, and seen amazing pieces, and some of them capture your attention. I
Yeah.
mean, I've got two tattoos, one of Boccioni sculpture that I saw in the Met for the first time, and I was just it just caught me, and I'm just wandering around this thing for probably 20, 25 minutes. The rest of the family's just off somewhere else in the gallery, but I was
Yeah.
just this visceral reaction, and there was another the exact same, well, the same sculpture but a different casting was in the Peggy Guggenheim at in Venice. Same reaction again. I was just
Yeah.
captivated by it.
I was like that at the Rothko room in the Tate Modern in London. You know, because they do it all, the lighting, the way you view it is dimmed in a particular temperature of light as well. And I, I was not really a fan of abstract 70s painting until that experience. Yeah. But no,
Yeah, it,
it's great. So like I said, I get all the good stuff now. I do retreats. So people come up here for the weekend. I get to go to galleries and work with teeny children. I get to work with big adults, everyone. Um, yeah, all
and
the fields.
get to impart your wisdom in ceramics. Uh, but one of the things that I have to bring up is with your ceramics, wherever you happen to go, whatever school it is or location that you actually go to, you pull out the dirt and the clay from that area and bring that into what the children are doing. And to what you're doing. It's almost a homage to the land that you're on. Is that part of your practice? Is that how did that start happening?
Okay, so you're probably referring to the recent work that was at Hodder, Home of the Arts.
Oh, that was one piece, but I know on some of your
Yeah,
student work that the schools that they're at, you go around the playgrounds and you dig up the
yeah.
dirt.
Well, I mean, kids know how to find clay, Phil. They're like the best at it because we all have memories of like whenever I talk to adults, not all kids that liked, but my kids certainly know how to find clay. But yeah, when most of the time when I'm in a classroom I still remember being at TSS prep kids and I said to them, here's a Mars bar. Who knows where there's some clay on your school grounds? And they knew. They're like, every time it rains, the chickens walk clay prints across the school. Mum always complains to me at cross country that I come home with clay on the back of my shirt when we do cross country. So they knew the spots. So maybe it comes out from that. But I love geology. I love geography. I was forced to become a history and geography teacher because, you got to have your second area. I'd done history of modern art, and they were like, "Oh, good, you're a history teacher as well," because
That's a
I
stretch, isn't it?
got thrown into that. But I really resonated with I just love tectonic plates and earth movement. I love those geological drawings. I love rocks. Rocks are so cool. um, I just think they're fascinating. Just learning about the formation. I mean, obviously, rocks are, clay is broken down rocks. Um, so yeah, I think just combining all those things, I think the experience. So the I've probably been working with the raw clays or the local clays since I moved up here. So that all kind of happened during COVID. The kids were at home and lockdown, and I was doing a lot of archival kind of research. I've started writing a lot for like publications, and I like researching post-war female artists, Southeast Queensland. So there was a lot of kind of oral history involved in that. What's good about oral history is you get invited to people's lovely old homes and look through their pottery collections and hear stories, have some bickies and tea. I like that whole experience. So I think it all came about around that time, and then the kids were coming out and we were discovering all these old clay sites that these past potters in the 50s and 60s on the mountain were finding. And so we
Oh, okay.
found their grandchildren were saying, oh, yep, I remember we used to go here, blah, blah, blah. And even one of the old homes where the Miss Morrises were, I knocked on the door, and luckily I think he was a philosophy lecturer. She was a writer, so obviously they were very keen for me to, tell them about their old house, and we found the clay pit where the potters were. I love all that stuff. So that history and being forced to become a history and geography teacher, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. So yeah, I kind of combine all those things. And yeah, that Hodder project was really great. So that was a commissioned body of work for the Gold Coast Triennale. And part of that is I said I want it to be, because I'm technically not on the Gold Coast anymore. We're Scenic Rim up here.
Yep.
So I said, well, it's important that I am engaging with the Gold Coast schools. So one of the places was Griffith Uni education site, Springbrook State School, 35 kids, Numbur Valley, 8 kids. Then Cooma Rivers, I think they got 1,500 kids there. So it was really great to go to all these different areas. And the diversity of the Gold Coast geology is amazing. And then also just reaching out to places that probably wouldn't normally have artists, or they might not have the budget to have artists. It was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw that commission at the Triennale down at Hodder, and again, it's your work. I love your work. I love how you just what you do with the clay, to give it life. And I mean, ceramics are amazing, and you can do some amazing things with various glazes and various techniques, that I've seen. Obviously, I don't work with ceramics at all,
Yeah.
but I can appreciate them. But what I love is how you just combine those clays and you slice them, and you give it a
Yeah.
look that I've not seen, until that gallery showing all those years ago.
Yeah. I mean, the works that I did for that show are particularly really quite bright because it was nostalgia of me growing up on the Gold Coast in the 80s and 90s. Um, so I wanted to kind of work with that hypercolor and gelato kind of dreams I had of living there. And I don't use, so I mean, I won't go into technical sides because it's a teacher podcast, but yeah, I don't work with lasers, but I really I like control and I like chaos. So the pattern making itself, there's a very chaotic, sporadic way I make those patterns. But I really know my stuff in technical stuff because it resonates the same as the darkroom. You've got to get the exposure correct. You need to know about lighting and all those things. And then even developing your film and developing your papers, there was an art, but also a technique to it. And you get it right and you're getting really good, consistent results. And the same with ceramics. There's, there's not too many surprises that came out of the kiln because I test so much. And I really like I test these clays a lot for shrinkages, what's their, firing temperatures, all those kind of things. But I like that. So it's, people always say, oh, how long does it take you to make this pot? And you could say it's years of knowledge and research and reading books and having wonderful mentors, and just all that learning. But it's also, it's months. I don't know it's very hard to answer that because sometimes like even the drying to make those different clays compatible. But I also really appreciate that side. I wouldn't be satisfied to just, like I do a wheel throwing class on a Tuesday night and we, throw the pot the next week, you fired it and you're glazing it. I don't want to be a production potter. I think I'd go a bit stir crazy there. Yeah. But
So you take,
anyway.
I guess, in with your practice, your personal practice, you're a true artisan in what you do. Everything has every piece has its own personality. Every piece is crafted for a reason and for a purpose, and it's not just like you said. You're not a production artist. You're
No,
not just pushing out.
I'm an exhibiting artist. I flog some stuff on my online shop as well, but
Hey, well,
but
you've got
yeah,
to put food on the table.
but that's my pocket money. That's that's a nice surprise if someone goes on there and purchases something. look, and this is the changing economy too. Like 4 years ago, I was having shop updates that could basically pay for everything and the mortgage and the food and everything, and they would be sold out in 6 minutes. Times changed a little bit, so the focus is more, perhaps. But now I'm also making more exhibition work. So when I was doing that smaller functional wear, um, I wasn't able to fully concentrate on these bigger stories and these research projects that I do. So, but that's the wonderful thing about, being full time is, I can transition into where I'm at. I mean, if something happens in the family and I'm needing to focus in on the family more, perhaps, then I'm not going to go and work on exhibition stuff because it's just too absorbing, So I'll probably make some functional wear for a while and just be able to walk away from it. Yeah, so it just changes.
Yeah. It's it, it I'm almost a little envious, in the sense of you, of just going, okay, well, yeah, like, I want to do this, and this is where I'm heading. But also, I can say that, but and I can say that, because it's easy to say, but also knowing that, hold on, that's a huge, and as I said earlier, it's a huge risk and it's a big undertaking, and it's a big commitment that you've put upon yourself to actually be able to have that and to choose that freedom of what you want to do each day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty structured. I, you know, you so like I'll have friends that are on, teacher holidays, and they'll say, I'd love to come up and see you. And I sometimes have to say, I can't, it's a work day for me. Um, a lot of times people want to come up and visit the studio, and I don't open my studio to the public because I just can't deal with the distraction. So no, I'm very structured. I'm in calendars, and I have to write myself lists, and there's a lot of admin. There's a lot of business know-how, marketing, like the whole social media thing has probably been, it's been a huge benefit to me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. You don't shut down as much, but then I don't think I shut down when I was teaching ever. I just think that's my personality. Um, yeah, I don't know. I work really hard. Like
No
I've got to,
doubt.
I have to work really hard, and don't think there's ever a week where, but then if you're really passionate, it's not, the hard work's not bad work. Yeah.
No, no, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we we love, like, I mean, I know for me, like, I love to do physical things. Like, I love to create, or I love to get out in the garden, or even just, some week it's just mowing the lawn and just getting out there and just doing something that I can sit back at the end of it and go, I did that. It was hard, it was tough, I'm exhausted, but look at what I have, look at what
Hmm.
I've produced. I create a sculpture, or I do a small painting, or I just design and make, just make something just for the sake of it. I look back and I go, yeah, I've done that. So was it easy? No, but it was productive, and you
Yeah.
feel it gives you that, and it's for no one else's benefit but my own.
There's a little bit of a misconception that artists are just having a great time in the studio all the time, though. Like, like this passion is not to be confused with, like I'm not in there with Enya playing and I'm on the wheel and it's all, um, hippy
It, it,
dippy.
it
Like
yeah,
there's some days
it's not Ghost.
no, today was really challenging. And when you get, like, I'm in the middle of working for an exhibition in Melbourne on a very short time frame, and knowing the process with ceramics too is, you've got to get through the kiln as well. Like there's a time frame. You can't do anything last minute. But it was really difficult problem solving today and frustrating. And there's some days where you could be working all day and something will collapse or something just won't work, and you just know that it doesn't suit the rest of the body of work. There are times, like I'm in that process right now where the next few weeks is, I would love to deviate. I would love to go off course, tangent, and just start something new. So this and plus also my research and my writing of starting a master's. I don't know why. But I think that's also the only reason why I feel like I'm capable to do that master's now is because I've learned this, this real, like, this long haul, and just sticking to it, and realizing that the fun stuff was the idea, the beginning research, all the magical ideas, and then actually the fruition and making it happen. It's really challenging, particularly when you want to charge what I want to charge. I want to make more money and make less, so I have to really work through these ideas. Yeah. Anyway,
I absolutely get that. That it's just you can't just bang something together. You can't just just whack the clay together, throw it in the kiln, and just go there you go. That's a Larissa Warren, and it's just like no, I need to think about this, and I need to craft it, and I need to understand where it's going and the story behind it. So yeah, and I get like you said, it's not just sitting in a studio and then you're playing and just everything's all just airy
yeah.
fairy and easy. It's like
I
I know.
normally have like metal or something heavier or something, you know what I mean? Because you just like, there's an angriness.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you
And
just
then at the end, when you're not happy, you'll play the Cure Disintegration or something like that. You'll go through all different.
oh
And
I
then you go
love
into like angry women pop bands, and there's all these different
yeah,
transient.
you just throw an L7 or something like that, and
Yeah. Oh, yes, actually, that's a good one. That's a good timing.
yeah.
Um,
It sounds like we
yeah.
have reasonably similar music tastes as well. So
Yeah, did all the festivals, and my husband's really into music too. And uh, yeah, sorry, the headphone. I'm listening to some. Is it still going?
yeah,
Oh,
still there.
I'm listening to some newer music, but I must admit the 90s, early 2000s was just brilliant for
Yeah, that's where
music.
I'm
And
stuck.
yeah, or I'll go back even to the 70s, to, or the 60s and 70s with my parents, because, growing up with their records, they had great taste. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, Larissa, I want to thank you for tonight, but I've got a couple of questions just before we wrap up. And I know, and you said you've got a tight deadline, so you probably you either want to get back to it tonight or you want
No,
to get some
I
rest.
never work at night now. No, after some very big commissions when I was still a teacher of working
No.
through the nights, I never work at night anymore now.
Ah, so you
I've
so
showered, I'm done.
so you have so you as a just I guess a tip for and I know like for me as a teacher like at night my computer like I finish the day, my computer's shut, I'm done, I switch off, work is done, I'm home for my family, and that's it. So I guess as an artist, is that something that a decision that obviously you worked when you needed to, but now you've gone, no, I need my time so I can recharge, so I can do my best work.
I think physically I need the break, because it's actually, when you're making big pots, and digging clays and processing them, it's very physically demanding. Um, Unless I'm, invoicing or doing, my book work and stuff, I probably won't be. But normally, yeah, we get into some good, TV shows. It's a good time to connect, Um, Kids, like my youngest still likes to watch TV and stuff, so we'll sit down and as family. But I think, yeah, but we will work probably, I'll still get into, I'll work through the weekend sometimes, or yeah, there's just different times.
Yeah,
But like a lot of my travel is based around work too. So if I'm doing a workshop in Hobart, then we'll go, well, then we'll also take the kids and we'll make it a family trip after the workshop and stuff. So there's some really good tax breaks there, Phil.
that's absolutely. I'll have to try and think of some design stuff that I can start implementing.
Yeah. I mean, even like I just got funding to go to New Zealand for professional development from a regional arts development fund, which is great. And so there's other ways. But so you were asking me advice on how to teach us to escape. What was the question?
No, it was. Oh, I
Sorry,
think I've forgotten because
I'm
we
just
just got caught up in this conversation. That's a great thing. That's a great thing about the conversation. We'll just go down a rabbit hole and we forget because we get caught up. But no, what I was going to say as well, because it is getting a little bit late, and I
yeah,
respect your time and I value your time, and I appreciate that you've you've opened up this hour this evening. But I've just got a couple of questions just to wrap up with. The first one is, now this could be big or small, easy or hard, or it could be an ethereal challenge. But is there like what would you say to our listeners as a little bit of a challenge, something to push them or get them to think about something?
the teachers.
Teachers, people, whoever, because I got a few different educators, but I also get students who listen to this, believe it or not.
Um, Something to challenge people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think going back to experiences in the gallery, I took my mother-in-law to see an exhibition about a year or so ago, William Robinson's Landscapes, and that was set to the orchestra. And I don't think she's ever visited a gallery, and she was crying. Like, it was
Wow.
such a moving moment to see how much this affected her. And she was kind of like, is this free? Is this, oh, like she was going to tell all her friends. So, I mean, if you haven't been to a gallery recently, um, maybe that's not even that challenging. That's just a pleasure. Um, you know, yeah, let's just put that out there. If you haven't been recently, and what they do if you've got kids, I mean, oh, the aircon in galleries is so good. Cafes are great.
Yeah. Well,
There's
I know.
a challenge. Go to a gallery and have a lovely lunch out.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the galleries I know hotter for those who are living on the Gold Coast. They always have an area for kids where they can actually just get in
Yeah,
and do stuff.
yeah.
So send the kids there.
And subsidized workshops. Subscribe to your local gallery and see what they've got to offer.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. That's a fantastic challenge, and it is. And sometimes it's a challenge just to get out and actually do something different. To go, you
Yeah.
know what, I'm gonna schedule some time to go and try something different, and
Mm. The APT is
it
on at GOMA right now, which is fantastic. The Asia Pacific Triennale. We're going down to Melbourne soon for this show, but I'll be at the Victoria Gallery for sure. Um,
brilliant, brilliant. Well, you you're making me want to travel now. So now, my next question, and it wouldn't be the Tattoo Teacher podcast if I didn't ask, do you have any tattoos, Larissa? You don't have to,
I
if you do, you don't have to show them, but
no, I have permanent, like a red mark here. That's from wheel throwing wild clays. That's the closest, like not like a callus, but just a stain from the red
just to
clays.
stay from the.
Because you can't get those salvo blocks anymore to really scrub your skin off. I don't have a tattoo, and and until recently, I didn't even, like, I don't wear jewelry, anything. I don't even know where my wedding ring is. So I don't have, yeah, so I don't have any adornments.
Oh, well, you
And
you you make plenty though, so that's
yeah, I just don't think I could commit. It's not that you know what I mean? I don't
yeah,
really like needles either, but yeah, I just don't think I can commit to something.
yeah. It's a big commitment, and it's one of those things where, like like anything, you have to research your artist. You have to be able to
Mm,
trust. You have to be able to trust your artist, because they're permanently marking you. And a number of my tattoos are actually done by down in Sydney, and these guys were teaching at well, what's the art school at the National Art School.
yeah,
Um, there, another one was studying art history at Sydney Uni. She was a practicing artist as well, and so I was just like, well, and some of the artwork that I wanted done, I needed someone who understood art.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's a big commitment, and
But
it's a
yeah, I just haven't even thought about it, honestly. Never even crossed my mind.
it's an addictive commitment too. So Now, my last, but it's certainly not least, is if people want to get in contact with you, if they want to find more about your art or your workshops or things like that, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
Website. So on my website, there's a contact form which will send me an email. My nickname from my husband back in high school days was Ratbag, and it's stuck. It's really, when Instagram first happened, I didn't realize handles kind of stuck.
Yep.
And mine was Ratbag. So yeah, I'm Ratbag Studios, and that's my website, ratbagstudios.com. And there's everything, like there's a big area on my education, my articles that I've written, projects, past exhibitions. You can kind of have I don't know how much it's been updated lately, but you can check out what I've been up to. I think I've got some backstories, clay hunting, all those kind of things.
All those things. I'll make sure I put links to that in the show
Yeah,
notes
thanks.
for people. So
And I'm probably most active on Instagram, which is just
Instagram.
Ratbag Studios. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was always wondering where that name came from. So you've answered.
Well, because my last name's Warren, and Scott used to be called Wazza at school. So my first Instagram handle was Wazza Ratbag. Like I was transformed, and then it just got shorter, and then I don't know, it just but I don't. If I was starting up again, I'd just use my name. I wouldn't even think of it. But yeah, it just got it just, and then everyone just goes, "Oh, you're Ratbag." So yeah,
It's very Australian, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think in some countries it's not a nice term of, you wouldn't even be saying that to somebody. I don't know.
No. It's almost a term of endearment with some
Yeah,
people, isn't it? But Larissa, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. I appreciate it. Keep producing, keep making, and I look forward to seeing more of your exhibitions. Um, and maybe we'll catch up in the future one time face to face again.
yeah. Thank you. I'll probably be at your school. I'm not sure where you teach, but you might see me in the art department in the next few years or so.
Yeah, well, I've encouraged we've only got one art teacher. I was teaching art with her last year, but we're down to one art teacher again. I encouraged her and I told her we're chatting tonight. And she's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I've got to get to her. I've got to get to one of her workshops. I've got to get her to the school." So
yeah.
I'll definitely encourage that to happen.
No, that's good. Yeah, more clay in schools. That's all I want.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Larissa, again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Appreciate your work, and keep creating.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you so much for listening to the Tattoo Teacher podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. If you like what you heard, it would mean so much to me if you could either like, follow, and subscribe to whatever platform you are listening on. The music was by DJ Fruit Salad. Thanks again for listening. Stay cool. Be blessed.